now. Okay, so for the agenda for this month, the first Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care Board meeting of 2015, we are going to, like I said, start with the roll call. Then we're going to get to a few housekeeping items. We're going to talk about our meeting in March and how it's the first of 2 full membership meetings of our COC. I want to talk a little bit about voting on new Continuum of Care representatives in our local homeless coalitions and how we will be working with you on defining what it means to be a coalition and a representative a little later. And then finally, I want to talk about a listserv that we will be rolling out over the next few months to improve communication with you, our Continuum of Care board, or Continuum of Care members. Then the good news, we have the awards were announced by HUD for the Continuum of Care grant. So we're going to quickly go through those and just highlight a few of the applications that were awarded funding, and look forward to the 2015 competition. Then I'm going to pass it to Sophia to give a quick committee report on the Coordinated Access Transition Team meetings. Next will be our main topic of today, and that will be led by Mary. She's going to give us a summary of the MOU between the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care Board and the Texas Homeless Network Board, and a draft of the governance charter. After that, we will put these items up on our website for public comment. And I want to give a very quick early report on the 2015 point-in-time count and survey. And then finally, I want to end with introducing some of our new team members. I hope you will be seeing many of them in person soon, but we want to go ahead and introduce them on this webinar so you can start to get to know them. Okay, so I am going to start with introducing the staff. In fact, I'll unmute you 2 that are panelists, and I'll ask you to introduce yourself. So first of all, we have Mary, our Continuum of Care manager.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Dodson, and I am the Continuum of Care manager, and I'm happy to be on the call with you today.
And next we have Sophia, our Coordinated Access queen.
Hi.
She's the all coordinated access. It's a huge project, and she's been doing a great job overseeing that. So that's why I refer to her as queen. Her official title is Coordinated Access Specialist, though. Okay, and so you'll hear from them a little bit later on. Now, as I begin to do the roll call, if you think I don't know what agency you're with or what community you're with, please feel free to write that in the question box so I see it as I start going down the list. I'm just going to do my best to go through the roll call, and if I mess something up, I'll try to correct that, but we've learned that doing the roll call is much faster and well, just more efficient than if we try to get everyone to introduce themselves. So for now, I'm going to leave everyone muted. So I'm going to start here with Andrea Wilson. Andrea is joining us from Tyler, and she works with the East Texas Human Needs Network, and that's the coalition she's with, and then she works with PATH there in Tyler. Ann Braziz, and I'm sorry, Ann, I always forget who you're with, but Ann Braziz is joining us. You can type that in, where you're from, Ann. She's with Families in Crisis in Temple and Killeen, and with the Central Texas Homeless Alliance. Next is Beth Rawlingson from Advocacy Outreach, and she's with the Bastrop Homeless Coalition. Carol Delgado is joining us from, CCST. Sorry, Carol, I do not remember where you're coming from. You can type that in. I'll announce that. Carol Gresham is joining us from Safe Tea in Mount Pleasant, and she leads the Mount Pleasant Homeless Coalition. Next we have Jenny Stafford, who's joining us from Midcoast Family Services, and she is the lead, or at least that's how we know her as, for the Victoria Homeless Coalition. And let me back up to Carol Delgado. She is joining us from CCSCT from Seguin. Okay. Next we have Teresa, and she's with the Salvation Army of Tyler and with the East Texas Human Needs Network. Jenny, we've already went through Jenny. Jason Murphy is joining us, and he is with the Gulf Coast Center in Galveston and works on the PATH and HUD programs there and serves with the Gulf Coast Homeless Coalition. Jean East is joining us from the Women's Shelter of East Texas in Lufkin, also known as the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. Jennifer Laurent is joining us from Randy Sams in Texarkana. She is one of the key members of the Texarkana Homeless Coalition there. Jesse Elizondo is joining us from the Salvation Army in Corpus Christi, and he is the lead of the Homeless Issues Partnership Coalition in Corpus. Jessica Contreras is joining us from Laredo. She's with West Care and one of the key members there of the Laredo Homeless Coalition and a manager of a permanent supportive housing project. Joining us in-house, and you'll hear a little bit more from him in a little bit, but is Julian Perez and probably some other of his co-workers gathered around his computer in the conference room. Melinda Conway Vaughn, Executive Director of the Wesley Community Center in Corpus Christi, is joining us. She's also a key member of the Homeless Issues Partnership Group in Corpus. Mark Bethune is joining us from the Concho Valley Community Action Agency, and they have the Tom Green Homeless Coalition, or I'm sorry, maybe just called the Concho Valley Homeless Coalition now. Marla Johnson is joining us from the Hays County Women's Center. She's the Executive Director there. Mary Gona is joining us from Laredo. She is with Bethany House of Laredo, another key member of that Laredo Homeless Coalition, and another HUD COC program manager there. Nancy Heinz is joining us from the Montgomery County Homeless Coalition. She is their lead there and has recently worked on the point in time count there, so she may have something to report to us. Pam Mossbarger is joining us from Faith Mission in Brenham. Sandra Moore is joining us from the Matagorda County Crisis Center in Bay City and with the Matagorda County Homeless Coalition. Tracy Perez is joining us from the City of Brownsville and with the Cameron County Homeless Coalition. And then we have a couple more. Tracy Sepulvedo is joining us with Community Health Corps. He represents the Northeast Texas Homeless Coalition. And finally, Yvonne Menendez is joining us from Start Center in San Benito, and she's also a part of the Cameron County Homeless Partnership, Homeless Partnership. So thank you all for joining us. Again, if you want to type in a question or make a comment, use the GoToWebinar app to do that. And if you need me to unmute you, type that in, and I'll certainly do that. So just let me know when you need to talk. I'll try to be as quick to reply as I can with this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to some of our housekeeping issues. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was a meeting that's going to be happening in a couple of months. So HUD requires all continuum of care to have two important meetings of the continuum of care full membership. And if you have your meeting schedule, you'll see that the first of those meetings for our Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care occurs in March. Now, this meeting is going to look and feel a lot like the meeting that we're having now, but we're going to really ramp up our communication about that meeting, the number of invites and the way we invite people to join that meeting, and we encourage you to help us get the word out, because this is one of those meetings, and the other one occurs in October, where we want as many of our COC members as possible. And that means all of our representatives, of course, if you represent a coalition, but all of the other coalition members who are interested should come. We hope to have a few items that will be up for discussion and possibly vote that are very important to this continuum of care. So that's another reason to attend this meeting. So just look out for email communication, but also things like postcards, maybe some social media invite. We want to make sure to get as many people as possible to this meeting and eventually the one in October. Okay, so I also want to talk about voting on the new COC representatives in local coalitions. So we have some really great representatives from our homeless coalitions. I went through a long list of many of them. But I think it's important that as a homeless coalition, you start to look at changing leadership sometimes, moving people into different positions. And we want to help with that, in that we want to work with you to develop some COC policies and procedures that are specific to defining what a homeless coalition is and defining what a representative of a homeless coalition is. So this is something that we'll be working with in the next few months, and Mary will talk a little bit about just policies and procedures in general in a few minutes, but one of those policies and procedures will be dedicated to this, defining what a homeless coalition is and what a coalition representative is. So this will provide you all in your communities definitions of a coalition that will use specifics like the frequency of meeting, the membership, etc. So we're going to put these policies out for your public comment once we get something drafted up. And then we hope after that is finalized, you will use that as a coalition as your basis and your reason for electing either new representatives or confirming that you have the correct representative serving on the Continuum of Care board, because we want to make sure to have that person that represents your community best and your coalition best involved with our planning and operations. So I'm going to stop real quick and ask if there are any questions. You can type those in if you have those. Okay. I'm not getting any questions, so I'll move on to the third item in housekeeping. So beginning next month, we will begin testing a Google Groups application to use as a listserv for all of our official Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care communication. We see this as a way to more efficiently deliver messages related to Continuum of Care planning and operations, and a way for you, the members, to more easily subscribe or unsubscribe. And we are going to be asking a few of you over the next few weeks, next month, for help in testing this to make sure this is going to work the way we want it to. We our distribution list, which is maintained by me, is right around 200 members. It changes month to month, but it always hovers right around there. But people have to communicate with me, and I'm not always great about getting back to you on email right away. And people are often left on the list who don't want to be on the list. This will allow people to subscribe and unsubscribe on their own. They don't have to wait on me. And it'll serve as a more formalized way for our communication as a continuum of care. So, any questions before I move on to the really good news we received? Okay. Well, yesterday, HUD sent notice that the 2014 COC grant awards were announced, and I got the email, and I was very nervous to open it because I was afraid that there might be some cuts. HUD did warn us that we could have some of our funding cut, even our renewal funding. So I reluctantly opened the link and was not really surprised, because I think we did a really good job, and I think all of our project applicants did a good job. But I was very happy and relieved to see that every one of the projects that submitted renewal or new applications for funding were funded. Some of the funding amounts did change a little bit from their application, but for the most part for the better. But the important thing is everyone who applied for renewal funding received that funding and will be able to continue serving a population that needs that service and that shelter and housing very much for at least one more project year. So really good news overall. I'm extremely happy. In fact, I was on a national call at lunch, and there were some continuum of care leaders that were upset because they had lost some of that renewal funding and had not received new funding like other COCs have, and like the Texas Balance of State has. So I think we're very lucky to have these results, and I hope that this luck will continue, and really don't want to base it all on luck, because there's a lot of hard work by our staff here, and of course your staffs throughout our Balance of State community. So congratulations to everyone who is funded, and I'm going to send this out to everyone after the call, but I want to go over a few of these awards here. So I'm just going to scroll through here. One of the ones I really wanted to point out was the one that the city of Texarkana submitted, and this is for Doorways Home through the Texarkana Homeless Coalition. They had a transitional housing project, and they took the chance and applied. Well, they took the chance and reallocated that funding so they could apply for rapid rehousing dollars. We had been working with them for a few months prior to the competition, and provided some TA to them and let them know that it's not that big of a risk, because HUD is, they've highly prioritized rapid rehousing. So that group decided to go ahead and make that change, reallocate that money, and reapply as rapid rehousing, and it really paid off for them. So they received some new funding. They were our only housing and service project that received new funding in the Balance of State. But I think their success goes to show the other applicants who may have projects that aren't highly prioritized what can happen if they reallocate. And I think it's going to be very important to look in that direction in the 2015 competition. So I really wanted to point them out. And then, of course, we were happy at THN to receive planning money and renewed HMIS funding. So the planning money I'm extremely happy about, because that's going to allow THN to keep people like Mary and Sophia, who you'll hear from soon, on board and working with you and producing results that we really have always hoped to produce as the Texas Balanced Estate Continuum of Care. It also will allow us to keep some of the staff that you'll be introduced to at the end of this webinar. So we're very happy, and I just want to say one more time, congratulations to all of the awardees, and let's bring some more funding in 2015. Okay, let me get back to the agenda. All right, so we are at committee reports, and that is Sophia, and she's going to give us a quick report on the Coordinated Access Transition Team. And Sophia, do you need the screen, or I just need to unmute
Nope.
you?
I just unmuted myself.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So after a 2-month hiatus, I gave everybody a break for November and December because of all the holidays and everything going on. We resumed meetings this month. I met with all 7 communities. I met with 6 communities. Unfortunately, I had the flu the day I was supposed to meet with Tyler. But all the meetings went really well. I took the opportunity to talk with all the communities about their commitment to coordinated access, and everybody said, you know, we've hung in this long and we're going to continue on. I updated them about the HMIS build-out, which, as I keep telling them, should be done any day now. I ran into a little snafu, so we're working with Client Track on that. But other than that, the Coordinated Access Transition Team meetings have gone really well, and I'm really looking forward to all the work that we'll be doing this year in regards to coordinated access and all the data that we'll be analyzing. If anybody has any questions, I can answer them now, or I'm available via email.
And just in case there are people on this call that are hearing Sophia talk about coordinated access and they don't know what that is, we'll send out some information about what coordinated access is and you know what we're doing in the Texas Balanced Estate with notes from this call. So it's
Sounds good.
important work, and we really appreciate the communities that are engaged with it right now, and we hope that they will do even more with that project in the near future.
We just got a question. So Nancy just asked, what is the HMIS build-out? So we are working with Client Track, who is our Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS provider, to customize the assessments that will be used for coordinated access. And so that's, when I say the HMIS build-out, I mean that work that they're doing to put the assessment into the system, and which will allow our communities to utilize HMIS for the purposes of coordinated access. I hope that answered your question, Nancy. That was a good one.
Yes, it was. And if anyone else has questions, go ahead and type those in. Okay, well, like Sophia said, she's available to answer questions afterwards, and you can contact her after the call or whenever you need to, and we will send some information about the Coordinated Access Project with notes from this meeting after we're done. Okay, next on the agenda is a review of the COC Governance Charter and an MOU between the Texas Balanced Estate Continuum of Care Board and the THN Board. And I might have some to add to this, Mary, after you're done, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you, and I'm assuming you will need the screen for that.
Yes, I will.
Okay, I'm passing that to you. And I think we should be able to see your screen soon. We can.
Okay, great. All right, let me close this part here. All right, so we brought this proposed revised governance charter to you guys last September as a preview to show you what we were working on. This month we're officially proposing it as a draft for the BOS members to review. So you'll see, those of you who were on the September call will remember. Others, let me take a step back and say the Balanced State COC currently has a governance charter in place, but as we're adding some policies and procedures and some structure that's required by HUD under the COC interim rule, we took that opportunity to kind of look at how our COC is operating right now and to examine if there were other ways that we could enhance the way that we're operating, since we're such a large geographic area and we want to make sure that we're having representation from as many of those areas as possible, and also to try to build in ways that we might get non-homeless services providers more involved. And so as your lead agency staff, we've worked together to draft, like I said, some revisions to the charter that we're proposing this month. Then we will have, as Eric said, in February, an entire month available for public comment, and we especially want some people commenting who are members of the COC. Most of you on this phone call, oh, actually all of you on this phone call are members of the COC, I bet. But really anybody who's in the geographic area of the COC right now is considered to be a COC member. That's where our membership requirement ends. It's just you're in the geographic area and you want to be a part of what we're doing. So you'll see, I'll just go through the actual document really quickly because we will be posting this on our website, as Eric said, so you all can look at it much more closely as you're getting ready to give us your input. So generally we talk about kind of the overall governance structure. Who are the players in the COC? What are the groups? How do people get to become a member of certain groups? And all of that. So you'll see we've got general members, which is, again, anybody who's interested in working on what we work on. The COC board, again, we currently have a board, but this document proposes a slightly different configuration. COC Representatives Planning Group, and that's the group that Eric mentioned when we first began the phone call, where we're going to want to have official representatives from your local homeless services planning body. And so we'll work with you all to help you understand the process that you would use to select a representative for your community. And then, of course, the HUD asks that every COC identify what's called a collaborative applicant, and that's the official group that can apply for grant funding on behalf of the COC, and right now that is Texas Homeless Network. HUD asks the COC to identify an HMIS lead agency. That is also right now Texas Homeless Network. And then an overall COC lead agency, and in our case it comes with staff support, and that's also THN. So we will get to the membership chart in Appendix B when I get there. This next section is the diagram showing the governance structure, and this is one thing that has changed since our September meeting. We've been working with a technical assistance provider through HUD called Apt Associates, and they've reviewed this part of our governance charter that we've gotten written so far and helped us to better conceptualize the governance structure. And so you'll see that the people with the power are the general membership, and they're here listed at the top. Next is the COC board that the COC members select, to sort of represent them and make decisions on their behalf. And then here is that representative planning group made up of all of the representatives from the local planning bodies and the collaborative applicant lead agency, COC staff, and HMIS lead agency, which are both THN. And then the representative planning group might have some standing committees and ad hoc committees to help them do the work that they need to do. So the rest of that section gives some details in a paragraph, but a lot of details in this chart about what each of those bodies that make up the COC, who are the members, how do they get selected, what are their responsibilities. So you'll see we spelled that out for the general membership, the COC board, and that's where you can see a little bit of the different configuration that we're proposing in order to get more non-homeless services providers actively involved in the decision making for our COC. So you'll see we do already have one formerly homeless person on our board, but we want to make sure that that is a standing position that we're always filling. 5 representatives from the RPG, or the representatives from the local planning bodies. 1 representative of a large local homeless coalition. 1 representative of a medium-sized local homeless coalition. And 2 representatives from small local homeless coalitions, because so many of our local homeless coalitions are in fact small. And then 1 representative from the Texas Interagency Council for the Homeless, or TICH. Again, these are just proposals, but if the membership approves of this structure, this would be the 11-member group that would then be the COC board and have that decision-making capacity to act on behalf of the board. I'm so sorry. All right, and then you'll see on page 4 starts the description of the representative planning groups. And this is where we will work with you to better understand what are kind of the minimum qualifications that a local planning body must have in order to be considered an active local planning body, and we'll spell out the process to select your representative, and then a small discussion of the standing committees, ad hoc committees, and then all of those roles that THN is currently playing. But technically, at some point, the COC board may decide to partner with another group to serve those roles. The next big section talks a lot about code of conduct, conflict of interest, and recusal. That's a requirement that HUD has in order to help COCs ensure that the people who are serving in these selected or elected roles don't have any conflicts of interest that would negatively affect the COC. Or if they do have a conflict of interest, that the person recuses himself or herself from any decision making related to that group. So that's why that section is in. Of course, a section on assuring that we would comply with COC and HMIS regulations, and the requirement that the COC review and approve the charter, or do an initial approval of this charter, review it annually, at least annually, and make any updates as necessary. So that's kind of the body of the charter. And then you'll see we have appendices that will show things like the continuum of care map, which counties are in our continuum of care, which are the official coalitions or local planning bodies. I don't actually have that one yet, except the map. This may be familiar to you. If it's not, however, we hope that it will become more familiar to you because you all are representing all of those counties in orange. We're a big group.
And
yes?
no, you go ahead after you're done with the appendices. I just want to say one thing.
Okay. You'll see this is just another, oh gosh, I am so sorry. I have a touch screen, and it's being really sensitive today. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. All right, this is just another way of depicting some of those membership groups that we're going to be having within our COC, if approved or as proposed in this draft. The general membership is the largest body of members. And then from that general membership, people can serve on committees. Those committees are sort of offshoots of the representative planning group. And then there's the board. So again, just another way to represent who is involved in our COC. And then we'll be adding the MOU for the lead agency to that appendix. Our COC's HMIS governance charter. So in addition to this overall COC governance charter, which this document is, we're going to be attaching the HMIS governance charter. And finally, a few words, Texas VOS COC policies and procedures that indicate many, many, many policies and procedures that need to be either updated or added. And so we are slowly working on that. And all of this together, the document and the appendices, will comprise the entire governance charter. So any questions on that? Or Eric, did you want to make some points?
I wanted just to point one thing out, and we talked about this the first time we presented this, but I wanted to point out that we tried to set up our board structure in a way that wasn't that different from the current structure that we have, in that the power of the COC, the power of the members in the COC, still resides with those in our communities, and especially those in our small communities, because with the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care, that's what we are. Not all of our communities are really small. Some of them are like Denton, and then you have some of them like Mount Pleasant. But we are comprised of the communities that are outside the metropolitan areas, the communities that for years and years didn't have access or what I would consider a level playing field for those Continuum of Care grant funds and sometimes emergency solution grant funds and other funding. So we're trying to keep the meaning of Texas Balanced State Continuum of Care and the reason for forming it the same, but bring in additional stakeholders to even strengthen our Continuum of Care. So just want to point that out and ask if people had questions about any of this, but in particular if they thought that makeup was fair to them and their communities.
And Eric, are you talking specifically about the COC board makeup, or the board and the representative planning group both?
The COC board is what I was specifically talking about.
Okay.
But I think the
I
extension
pulled
of the
that
RPG.
section up on the screen so people can re-look at it.
In reality, there's really just one additional person that would be involved, and that would be the representative from the Texas Interagency Council for the Homeless. At least that's what's named. There could be someone else from another stakeholder, like a state agency representative, that would be involved too. But even if there are 3 or 4, the decision making still resides in those in our communities, and that's what we wanted to retain. So if there are any questions or comments, please go ahead and type them in or ask me to unmute you, and I will. Okay, well, I don't think there is anything, Mary, if you want to move on.
All right, I will. what I have on the screen now is the proposed Memorandum of Understanding that's related to the COC lead agency. And we brought this to you guys in November at your board meeting, so this may look familiar to you. But thank you to Lauren, one of our new social work interns, who edited this a little bit for us the other day. It's easier to read now. So the purpose of this document is to very clearly spell out the responsibilities of Texas Homeless Network as the COC lead agency. Well, right now it's Texas Homeless Network. In theory, whoever is serving as the lead agency. And so it's a memorandum of understanding between the COC board, which represents the entire Balance of State COC, and between the Texas Homeless Network board. And so again, just a way to clarify in writing how THN is right now kind of serving a dual purpose of being Texas Homeless Network and also serving as the Continuum of Care lead agency. So you'll see just in the beginning, purpose and background, why are we doing this, some nuts and bolts about how long it would last and how it would renew, some notes about how a COC is governed, the fact that THN right now is designated by the COC board, or really by the COC, as the collaborative applicant, the lead agency, and the HMIS lead agency. A little bit about what the HUD COC program is, and the fact that there are regulations we need to comply with as a COC. And then Section 5 is where it starts the specific responsibilities of each party. And the first section relates to COC responsibilities. So this spells out what COCs are required to do. And so how the COC, sorry, I just had to look ahead and make sure I was going to tell you the right thing, how the COC will be helped by the lead agency and what the COC is responsible for. Oh, sorry, I did it again. Those of you who don't have a touch screen, I highly recommend them, except when you're trying to do something like this and it goes a little wonky. All right, then you'll see here in the next section, it's what are Texas Homeless Network's responsibilities and what THN will do to serve as the COC lead agency and staff support. And we want to be really transparent with this document because I think it's important that people within the COC, and particularly the COC board, can trust that things have been made very clear and expectations have been set for how the lead agency will work on behalf of the COC. So it's really very much about the same kinds of things that we've been doing. It's just that now it will be in writing. And of course can be amended at any time. And you'll see as I'm scrolling, point in time count, housing inventory chart, collaborating with ESG recipients, and then just again a little bit of nuts and bolts about how this document might be amended and how it might be terminated. And it will be signed by the chair of the board of the COC and by, oh, you know what, I have executive director of THN. I actually don't know if that will be the executive director or the board chair of the THN board.
I think it would definitely be the board.
So that's it in a nutshell.
So, yeah, I think the THN board chair would also sign it.
Yes, I will need to change that.
And just so everyone is aware, well, you may have mentioned it already, Marina, I missed it, but the Texas Homeless Network board, they're reviewing this right now. So, you know, hopefully they'll approve it and we can get your comments on it over the next month and maybe even vote on it by the end of that month or in March. So this is something that
Oh,
to get together.
I'm sorry, when you said March, it reminded me. This document will also be available for public comment during February. And yes, if we vote to approve it early, we can do that. But I think we had talked about bringing both these documents back to the group at the full membership meeting that Eric had mentioned earlier that will happen in March. So we're presenting these now. We'll put them on the website. We'll gather public comment over the next month, and then we'll have a few weeks to incorporate those comments into the documents and repropose them in their updated version at the March 25th full membership meeting.
And that's more realistic anyway, since February is a little bit shorter month. So, yeah, we should stick with that.
And we have a lot on our plate, so
Yes.
I think that would be a good idea. And then we know that will be one of those two meetings. I'll repeat what Eric said, that HUD requires every COC to have, where they do an especially thorough job of trying to reach out to every person and every entity in the COC that is connected with us in any kind of way. And so we'll be posting all that information on our website. We might even be inviting other people from your communities, and certainly we hope that you're inviting other people from your communities so they can learn more about us, and also we can feel sure that we're giving people ample opportunity and notice to participate in the COC meetings.
All right, well,
All right,
thank you,
I think
Mary.
that's it.
If
You're welcome.
there are any questions, you can type those in, or again, if you need me to unmute you, just type that in and tell me to unmute you. There were a few questions during Mary's presentation about the documentation, and again, this will be up on our website, but we will send out all documents that were discussed during this meeting after the meeting today. You may actually get it tomorrow morning, but you will get it very soon. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change the screen back to me. And we have really flown through this meeting, but that's not surprising since we didn't have any items to vote on or discuss. So we are actually all the way down to item number 6. And our early report on the 2015 point-in-time count and survey. So this is a very early report. Let me stress that. And we have communities out there. For example, Bay City, where Sandra is located. We have communities that had to postpone their point-in-time count from last week and use our alternative date of this Thursday. So some of our communities haven't even done the point-in-time count. So we will start getting their numbers afterwards. So,
I want to say, this is Mary again, specifically Lubbock let us know that they were facing incredible amounts of snow and ice last Thursday, so they postponed to tomorrow.
yeah, that and like I said, Bay City, but for Bay City it was because of flooding. So weather was a challenge last Thursday. So we're hoping it is much smoother tomorrow for your communities that decided to do the point-in-time count then. But so our very early results, and they're not really results, but early the surveys that we received so far, we received about 650 surveys. We only have one community that reports having administered and entered all of their surveys. So that leaves over 20 other communities that haven't done that work. So we've yet to get some of their data. But what we have received so far, and through our mobile app, we received 290 surveys, and those are surveys that are continuing to come in. Now, some of those surveys were uploaded on the day or night of the survey. Others have been uploaded after that because people are using it for their data entry. And then we also have people using the SurveyMonkey tool for data entry, and we've had 360 surveys entered through that, and we have more and more coming in all the time. So we have about 650, but there will probably be around 3,500 more that come in over the next 2-3 weeks. So we'll keep you updated, and if you haven't already organized the data entry for your community, please do so we can get this data in and we can get it analyzed as soon as possible and get those reports out to you as soon as possible. But if you did participate last Thursday in the count, thank you very much. And I want to say thank you to my coworkers here at THN who all got together and, well, many of them piled into my van, and we headed up north to the county just above us in Williamson County and did our best to canvass that county and count and survey the people that are experiencing homelessness there. And the weather was bad, so I really appreciate my coworkers who took time to do that. Any comments about the point-in-time count or questions? And let me just address something Pam Musburger said about the charter. And these are the types of things that we want to receive public comment on. So she asked, so the COC board and the THN network are the same people. They actually are two different groups. So our Texas Homeless Network board is the board for our agency, Texas Homeless Network, which works with the entire state of Texas. And one of the projects that that we work on, and it's a big part of what we do at Texas Homeless Network, is the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. So we have a board that oversees all of that that THN does. Then we have a Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care board that is made up of members of the Balance of State. There are community representatives. So they are two different boards. So if you have questions or comments like that, once we put the MOU and the charter up for public comment, please feel free to make those. Okay, and then one more question before I get to staff introductions, unless other questions come in. Our own Julian Perez asked, when can we expect the final point-in-time count report? That's a very good question, Julian. I can tell you one thing for certain, and that is that by the end of April, we will have those numbers, because that is when we have to report those numbers to HUD. So we will have those numbers. The Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care full report will probably come out a little later than that. Our priority with this project is to get data to the communities first before we start compiling the Continuum of Care wide report. But I think with some of the improvements we've made, that whole process will move faster this year. Okay, we have a few other questions coming in. Looks like Pam Musburger has a question about the 2014 grant recipients and whether or not there were new sites. So we did, our Continuum of Care did see 2 projects that received new funding. And it's a little misleading to say that, but that is how HUD defines the funding for those 2 projects as new. The first one is the Texarkana, the City of Texarkana project. They reallocated funding they had, which means that they're giving up that funding and applying for a new project with that funding or whatever it may be left over in the Continuum of Care. So when they applied for that new project and were awarded rapid rehousing funding, that is considered a new project. And then the Continuum of Care planning grant is considered a new project in new funding, even though it was funded the year before. So it's not considered renewal funding, it's considered new funding. But we did not receive any new funding, additional funding from what our pro rata share, or the amount that's allotted, well, not allotted, but our annual renewal demand. We did not receive more funding than what would be our total renewal amount. So in that sense, we didn't receive new funding. We did have an opportunity to apply for permanent supportive housing bonus money, but we did not have an applicant apply for that. And I'll just say that that was a very tough competition for that money. Only 25 programs across the nation were awarded that funding. Okay, so we had a lot of questions come in, so I'll get to these. We will also send, there's questions about doing the point-in-time survey and sending out the survey. Our survey and all the materials for our survey, they're on our website, but Carol, I'll definitely make sure to send that to you. Okay, and then one more question from Pam about the renewal funding. The renewal funding is for those applicants, and so in a sense that money is spoken for, but we're hoping that in this next competition, 2015 competition, which HUD will announce when it's open, we never know for sure when that is, but we're hoping it's around May or around spring is what we're hoping for. We're hoping that they will announce that there is additional funding so that agencies could apply for new project funding, and we can bring some of that project funding to communities that have not received it in the past. So yeah, that is our hope. So any other questions, you can type them in, but I'm going to go ahead and get to staff introductions. And let me just start by saying that I'm so lucky to have these folks here. Whenever I moved back from Arkansas and I took this position in 2007, or I'm sorry, 2008, I believe, I was the only staff member for the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. Shortly thereafter, we were able to hire an HMIS person, but then it was just me and that person for several years. Then our HMIS team started to grow, and so we had a big HMIS team, or relatively big HMIS team, and then me. So finally we started receiving some planning funding from HUD and some funding from the state, and we were able to start hiring people like Mary, who you heard from earlier, and Sophia. And with them coming on board, it has really helped our continuum of care. We've received some additional funding, and that's allowed us to hire even more folks that will help us and help you very soon with your work. So I want to introduce those people. So let me start with Casey. She is, of these people, she's been here the longest, so we probably should have already done this introduction. But she is our HMIS data analyst, and this is a new position to THN and to the Texas Balance of State. And she's responsible for monitoring HMIS data quality, working with agencies to uphold data quality standards, conducting supportive services for veterans' families' monthly reports, and providing technical assistance. She has worked with multiple research labs and nonprofits throughout her undergraduate career, and she was hired by us in October. She received her bachelor's in science in regional development from the University of Arizona. She is our second Arizonan to join the team. We're very happy to have her and to have someone in that role. And you will start seeing the benefits of having her on board very soon if you're an HMIS user. We'll probably hear from her maybe as early as next month in regard to an HMIS report card. So we're really happy to have her, and if she wants to unmute herself, she can say hi real quick. We may be having audio difficulties. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me unmute you, Julian. That is the way to do that. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone.
So you will hear that voice coming to you over the phone very soon regarding your HMIS data quality. And she's going to go beyond that and help us out with some more detailed community reporting and assessments. Okay, next we have Victoria Lopez. She's another one of our new HMIS people. She works on, she's part of the HMIS support team. She's an HMIS support specialist. She's responsible for providing technical assistance to agencies within the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. And she joined us in December, and she hopes to streamline how agencies enter data, track their clients, and evaluate their programs. She holds a master's in rhetoric and professional communication from Iowa State University and a bachelor's in English from Texas A&M Corpus Christi. She can say hello if she's in the room.
Hello, everyone.
All right, thank you. Next we have Stephanie, and with the exception of Jesus, we have a brand new HMIS team. So we have a lot of folks that have joined that team in the past few months. The next person is Stephanie Valderrama. She is an HMIS support specialist, multimedia specialist, and she's responsible for providing technical assistance to shelter managers in our continuum of care. She holds a degree in mass communications from Texas A&M University in Kingsville. Are you able to say hi, or are you there, Stephanie?
I am. Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us. And Stephanie, like I mentioned earlier, is helping us with some of our multimedia. So hopefully some of our training materials will really be improved with Casey, Victoria, and Stephanie working on those things. Okay, I think maybe the only person in the room, I'm not sure, but is Julian Perez. He's I think he's our next to newest hire, but Julian is our new programs monitor for the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. He previously worked for the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and that's where some of you may know him from. And while he was there, he worked there for 7 years, and he was the senior compliance monitor. He was responsible for monitoring and providing technical assistance to recipients of ESG, HPRP, and HHSP. He spent 8 years monitoring and contract management. He has 8 years of monitoring and contract management experience on state and federal programs, and he holds a bachelor's in business administration from Texas State University. And I'll let him say hello.
Hello, everyone. I look forward to working with you all.
And let me just follow up by saying he is the programs monitor, but don't look at that as an ominous title. He is going, a lot of his monitoring, quote monitoring, will be done as a precursor to technical assistance. So he may identify some areas where your program needs some help, and then we'll provide that help. So we won't simply be going in and checking off boxes and saying, well, they do this or they don't do that. It's going to go beyond that, which is the type of monitor Julian already is anyway. So we're very lucky to have him. Okay, and I don't know if our interns are in right now, but Mary, could I ask you to introduce them since you know them better?
Yes, they actually are.
Okay. Well, I don't have your bios. So
Eric.
Go ahead.
This is Mary. I could introduce you guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
We can hear you.
Great. You'll see the first intern listed is Lauren Rosales, and she comes to us from the University of Texas at Austin School of Social Work, and she is in her final semester, well, second to the last semester, I guess, of her internship and her degree program at UT, and she will be working with us on COC planning and operations, maybe a little bit with coordinated access and with governance and with the COC competition. So, Lauren, do you want to tell everyone hello?
Hello, everyone.
All right, and our second social work intern comes to us from Texas State, and she is Samantha Maggiani, and she is also in her last semester of the social work program, graduate program, and she will finish in May, whereas Lauren will finish in August. Samantha will primarily be working on policy and advocacy type activities. So anything related to the Texas legislative session, she's going to be helping with our housing summit and specifically the Homelessness Awareness Day at the Capitol, which is the afternoon of April 2nd. Samantha, would you like to say a word?
Hi, everyone. I look forward to speaking with you. I will.
All right.
Well, so those are our new additions to Texas Homeless Network and new additions working in the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. So hopefully you'll be hearing from them very soon, and you can start picking their brains and find out ways that they can help you out with what you do. Okay, I'm going to stick around for questions, but well, let me just open it up. If there are any questions or comments that need to be made, go ahead and do that now.
This is Mary. I would like to make a comment. I think I speak for everyone when I say thank you, Eric, so much for what you do for the Balance of State. And you are such an expert on the COC competition and the COC program in general that I know you are a large part of why our COC brings in money through that program. And so I know you've been thanking everyone else, but I wanted to make a specific point to thank you as well.
Well, that's very nice, and I appreciate that. Yeah, but it's there were a lot of thank yous from some of you who are throughout the state and then received funds, and I appreciate those thank yous as well. It's such a relief to have staff here and then great people out in our communities doing this work, because that's really what drives it all. So anyway, I really appreciate that. So we have time for questions or comments if you need to make those. While we're waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and say a few closing things. We will put the charter draft on our website and the MOU draft on our website and ask you for your comment. We will also send you documents from this meeting and our notes from this meeting as soon as we can. It may be tomorrow morning. And we will record, we have recorded this webinar, and the recording will be put up, or a link to the recording will be put up on our website. So if for whatever reason you want to go over it again, you can, or you can send it to someone who might be interested. So with that, I'm going to just tell you all thank you for coming. This was a pretty good group we had this time. So thank you for taking the time to meet with us and hear us out. And if you need to go and get back to your busy day, please do that. And we'll talk again in late February. I believe our next meeting is, let's see, it is February 25th, so not too long from now. So we'll see you then. And thank you. But if anyone has any questions, I'm sticking around. So thank you all, and have a good rest of your week.